Part 44. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 443. Of course I do. I really want to compete with players from all over the country and even the world on the ice rink like before. For this question, San Mubayu didn't need to hesitate, and blurted out the hope in her heart. But what's the use of thinking about it? I can't compete with my previous opponents at all, even more, I can't stand on the same stage with them. Maybe sitting in his arms, it's very safe and warm, like walking into a safe haven. The bitterness and grievance in San Mubayu's heart can't stop surging, and tears are lingering in the corners of her eyes. She really tried hard, but the existence of her leg injury made it impossible for her to train as hard as before. She really wanted to face one difficult move after another like before, and master it through constant practice, and finally present it on the stage, so that the audience cheered for her. She once stepped on the top of the mountain and saw the unparalleled scenery, which was the most beautiful scenery in the world, but she knew better than anyone how difficult the mountaineering road was. Every player has put in unimaginable efforts and sweat to stand on the highest level stage. As long as you want, it will work. Seeing her loneliness and grievances turned into words, Kurosawa Hikaru's left hand gently lifted her fingertips, held her palm, and rested it on her thigh. He could feel that the dusk trough buried by Mikibayu, which was buried by strength and love, broke out of the ground. He could imagine that after Mikibayu retired due to injury, he was alone in the dead of night, sad. Yet, Mikibayu felt his movement, looked down at the hand held in his palm, raised her right hand to wipe the tears, and didn't want to cry in front of him. This was her second date with the senior, and she didn't want to be ruined by such a sad thing. In fact, she knew that many things in this world are useless just by thinking. Missed, she tried to completely lead her peers and failed in the quadruple jump, which has left an irreversible old disease. After a few years of complete rest, she did return to the ice rink, but she could no longer train as intensely as a professional player. It was because of this that she learned a lesson, that is, cherish the present and seize opportunities. Do you want to compete on the same stage with players from all over the world, or do you want to stand on the ice rink and let the audience cheer for you? Seeing that she had stopped crying, Kurosawa Hikaru asked again before he finished speaking. Both, I will go back one day. Finding that he had not given up, Mikibayu cheered up, turned his head to look at him, clenched his fist with his free right hand and waved it, looking full of energy, indicating that he was fine. Okay, I'll help you get back to the competition. In response, Kurosawa Hikaru nodded heavily as if he had made up his mind. Help me. Mikibayu looked at him with some confusion. What does this mean? Didn't the senior just comfort her? Bayu, do you want to practice double figure skating with me? Facing her puzzled look, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled and asked. San Mubayu widened her eyes and tilted her head to look at him, confused by this proposal. Although I can help you massage, and then you can relieve your leg by soaking your feet, so that you can stay on the ice longer and practice longer. But to be honest, because you have a leg injury and a few years of absence, it is difficult to win the championship. Seeing that she hadn't reacted yet, Kurosawa Hikaru simply laid out the words to make it clear. No matter what field it is very difficult to be the first. Even if Bayu's leg injury can be completely healed, it will be difficult to win the championship again, because she has a few years of absence. In such a long time, she can't maintain her competitive state because of the injury. What's more, her leg injury can't be restored to its original state. I know. The cruel fact was revealed. San Mubayu's expression froze, lowered her head and smiled bitterly. She once imagined that she would recover from the injury for a few years, come back again, and kill all the teams in the game and dominate the whole audience. But in fact, after she was admitted to university, no matter how she practiced, her level was not as good as before. Although her mother promised her that as long as she was admitted to a good university, she would let her skate again, but she also believed that her competitive level was definitely not good enough and was unwilling to be her coach. Now, when she is training, she wants to find out where there is a problem with her movements and needs to be improved, and she needs to buy a SLR to record. Without a coach, a window period, and old injuries, let alone winning the championship, it is difficult to even get a good ranking. So practice pair skating with me, I can help you win the championship. Kurosawa Hikaru pointed out this and invited again. Senior, the difficulty of winning the championship in pair skating is similar to that of single skating, or even more difficult. Because pair skating requires tacit understanding and cooperation, and requires a good partner. Players who have achieved good rankings in pair skating usually practice together since childhood and keep running in. Miki Shiraha didn't understand why he came to such a conclusion. After being stunned, he explained to him. Senior, don't you think it's easy to win the championship in pair skating? I know, but I also know that pairs figure skating does not require so high a single jump and puts less load on your knees. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded slightly, obviously understanding this. Since you know, then you still. Miki Bayo looked at him and hesitated to speak. To be honest, she was a little angry because what the senior said was too belittling figure skating. However, she couldn't get angry when she saw her senior's handsome face. He must have a reason for saying this, right? Would you like to give it a try first? Pair skating with me? Kurosawa asked, finding that she didn't believe him and instead of arguing with her. He knew that his figure skating level was not high in Bayu's eyes. After all, she taught him all his figure skating moves. However, he has absolute confidence in his skating skills. With the two entry-level skills of skating and ballet, as long as he wants to learn, he can turn himself into a figure skating master in a short time. This is still at the beginning. If his skills are upgraded and he reaches the proficiency level in both items, he will be confident of winning even the singles figure skating world championship. Because mastery level skills are equivalent to the level that a genius can achieve after a lifetime of hard work. As long as he can acquire master level skating skills, he will be sure to win the championship with Miki Shiryu. Okay. Although Miki Baiha thought his proposal was unrealistic, she was heartbroken when she thought of walking onto the ice rink with her seniors to participate in the pairs skating competition. Regardless of the slim chance of winning the championship, if they practice pairs skating together, she and her senior will have more time and opportunities to be together. And it is different from single skating, because if you want to have a tacit understanding, you must practice a lot, and there will be a lot of interaction between them. You know, in the process of pairs skating, there will be a lot of physical contact. As she thought about it, the system's voice sounded in Kurosawa's ears. New task. Immediately afterwards, pictures appeared in front of his eyes. Dating mission, dream journey with Miki Bayu. Mission goal, meet on the ice, dance with her on the ice rink, and the dance synchronization rate reaches 90%, make her feel like the happiest person in the world. Task duration, 1 month. Mission funds, entry-level skating, entry-level ballet, experience card. Mission rewards, entry-level skating, entry-level ballet, permanent. Sure enough, her favorite date place is still on the ice rink. Seeing the appearance of the mission, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised, but he was soon relieved. When he made up his mind to spend time figure skating with Bayu, he actually expected that it would probably trigger a date mission. To his surprise, the reward was exactly the same as the first date. But it's normal to think about it. Miki Baiha's preference is too clear, which is figure skating, also known as ice ballet. Maybe she likes piano and all kinds of things, but there is absolutely nothing that can surpass figure skating. If I had to say, for Miki Shiraha, is there anything more beautiful in the world than single figure skating, then there is only pairs figure skating. I hope I can help her win the championship. After confirming the mission reward, Kurosawa Hikaru raised his eyes and looked at Miki Shireo's beautiful face, and was very moved. Maybe it's because as a man, he has an instinctive rejection of effeminate dances like ballet, and he wasn't very interested in figure skating. Even though he went to the ice rink with Miki Bayu before and had a wonderful time, he still had the idea of having fun. But just now he saw Miki Bayu's lonely look, and his mind changed. He wanted to see her shining again, standing on the ice rink, and having the whole audience cheer for her. Ignoring the world-class competition for the time being, she will first win the regional competition and let her make a formal comeback. Senior, why did you think of pair skating with me? Miki Bayu found that he was looking at her, looked back at his dark and beautiful eyes, and couldn't help but ask. Because I want to see you laugh, not cry. Kurosawa Hikaru held her hand, raised his right hand that was kneading her knees, gently slid his index finger at the corner of her eyes, and said softly. Miki Bayu felt that his eyes were so gentle, and he spoke with such gentle words that seemed to melt her bones, and her heartstrings couldn't stop accelerating. Sure enough, she really likes Kurosawa-senpai. The mission goal making her feel like the happiest person in the world has been completed. Isn't this too easy? Kurosawa Hikaru was stunned when he heard the notification that the mission was completed. When he saw this mission goal just now, he thought it was quite difficult and should be completed on the ice rink. Actually, I rarely cry. I'm not a crybaby. Sitting on his lap and leaning against his arms, Miki Bayu felt that she was really happy, and her heart was extremely sweet, but she was also a little embarrassed and whispered. I know, so I don't want you to cry anymore. Kurosawa Hikaru saw her defending in a low voice and thought it was cute. He smiled and touched her head. This girl is obviously not much different in height from Xiaoyuki, but maybe it's because she's too light, or maybe she's rather childish in appearance, but she looks like a little kid, which is lovable. I won't cry anymore. Faced with such pampering, Sanmue Bayu also made up his mind. 2 more chapters are here. Starting today, we will officially return to the previous 2 chapters a day, and there will be more chapters in the future. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 444. When people are on top, they will say certain things regardless of the consequences. For example, when you are angry, you are likely to say cruel words that tear people's hearts and make you regret. But there is also a kind of person who is emotional and will say some sweet words that make people happy. Let me massage you. He made an agreement with Miki Shiraiha to go figure skating with her. Kurosawa Hikaru put his arms around her slender waist and suggested. His master-level massage is actually very powerful. However, massage is mainly to dredge the muscles and blood vessels and activate blood circulation. After all, it is not a medical skill, nor is it acupuncture. At most, it can make Miki Bayu more comfortable, but there is no way to cure it. Because of the sweet words just now, Miki Bayu showed no resistance to his proposal and nodded obediently. Aren't you coming down? As she nodded, Kurosawa Hikaru loosened his arms and no longer held her waist. However, after waiting for a while and finding that she was not moving, he reminded him. Just press it like this. Miki Bayu reacted and realized that he was letting her down just now. She shook her head, then twisted her butt and snuggled into his arms. This feeling was super good, because they were completely close together, and she found that the senior was really big. At this moment, she understood why many girls liked boys who were much taller than them, because they felt so safe. If you hold her like this, you can't massage her properly. Because she was a cocoon in his arms, Kurosawa felt her soft and smooth skin and immediately panicked. Just hold me for a while longer. Miki Bayu simply folded her legs, spread herself out and sat in his arms, opened her arms to hug him like a koala, and said coquettishly. During the daytime date, they were running around outside. Although they had a lot of fun, they were all in public places and there was no chance to be alone together. They just held hands and didn't even kiss. With this hug, the soft touch exploded in his chest, making Kurosawa Hikari's body freeze. This distance is too close, and the fragrance is so far away that it refreshes the heart. His sense of smell and perception were already stronger than those of ordinary people, but the fragrance of this girl was simply deadly. Glancing down, Kurosawa Hikaru saw the slender collarbones, silky and white, like milk, covering the frosty Saishue's skin. Even though Kurosawa Hikaru was no longer a boy, but an experienced man, at this moment, his throat still rolled uncontrollably and he swallowed. At this moment, Mikibayo seemed to feel something and raised his eyes to look at Kurosawa Hikari. "So I'll let you down." Facing her subconscious gaze, Kurosawa was a little embarrassed. There was nothing he could do. He had passed the emotional stage just now, and now he had calmed down. Holding a beautiful girl in his arms made people's blood inevitably surge. Any living thing will have an overreaction, usually due to strong stimulation caused by unknown things. He just predicted that he would be unable to control himself, so in order to avoid embarrassment, he suggested a massage. Mikibai reacted and found that his posture was very intimate. A blush flew over his pretty face, like a panicked and helpless kitten. She buried her head in his arms and hid, not daring to face him face to face. "I'm so embarrassed, why did I ride on top of my senior?" This time she bowed her head. The two people were no longer close to each other, but this time she bowed her head, causing her body to move back a little. Faced with such acute reaction, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but take a breath, unable to hold back at all. Is it really that silky smooth? These thighs are too soft. Her butt is so small. With a little girl in his arms, Kurosawa Hikaru felt distraught. Although Xiaoyuki is Xiaoyuki, she is not small at all. It is better to say that she is well developed and has a curvy figure. She also has a curvy butt because she has practiced yoga. In fact, normally speaking, Xiaoyuki has a really good figure. You know, a girl who has been thin since she was a child will not have obvious female characteristics. However, she is very hot, maybe because of yoga. After all, yoga exercises your buttocks and waist, and it's not just about exercising flexibility. In contrast, Mikibayo is the real Xiaobayo. A little childish, but delicate and beautiful, with an elf-like appearance. Slender and weak, with graceful curves under the influence of figure skating, Xiaohe showed off her slender figure with sharp corners. It's as light as a feather, as if its weight will topple over if it's blown by the wind. If she were shorter, she would have a standard lowly body shape, but since she is about 1.6 meters tall, she would have a girlish body shape. What should we do now? Riding on the momentum. But wouldn't it be a little too early to jump directly from holding hands with kiss to home run? But she is so defenseless. If she doesn't do something, she will be worse than a beast. Looking at the schoolgirl with her head buried in her arms, with only snow-white hair visible, Kurosawa Hikaru's thoughts were racing. Under normal circumstances, girls are more wary of exposure and physical contact with the opposite sex. If a girl is not on guard against you, it is actually a potential signal. Whether he puts his hand next to yours, he can take it with just a slight stretch of his hand, or he wears a low-cut dress and bends down in front of you to let you have a glimpse of spring. Whether to be a beast or worse than a beast, Kurosawa Hikaru quickly made his choice. The hands that had just been released were directly used to hold Miki Shiraha's waist. Unlike before, when he just used his arms to wrap around her, this time he actually held her waist with both hands. This action made Miki Shiraha's body tremble. It was the first time that she was held by the waist like today. Because she had been practicing figure skating since she was a child, she rarely participated in campus activities before. Whether it was on the ice rink for figure skating training or in the ballet classroom, she usually came into contact with girls, and rarely boys. Even if there were boys around her, she would keep a distance from them because she was devoted to figure skating. She was not interested in love at all. Men. They would only affect her training. She now had a good impression of the opposite sex because of many things. First, it was because this person was Senior Kurosawa, who was too handsome and completely in line with her preferences, and he was too outstanding. Second, although she still loved figure skating, she could not devote herself to figure skating wholeheartedly like when she was a child. She had to rest every time she skated for a while, and had a lot of free time to think about random things. Isn't this waist too thin? I just held it full. What kind of waist is this? A small waist? A slender waist? A four waist? Speaking of this position, isn't it a bit bad? I thought Yuki was already cute in this position, but I didn't expect there was someone cuter than her. Cute, I want. Holding her waist with both hands, Kurosawa Hikaru was really shocked, and his mouth was dry. Then, he couldn't help but hold Miki Bayu's waist and gently lifted it up, and then put it down. I didn't use any force, she's too light. I thought I was a foot fetishist, but now it seems that I'm just lustful. I don't know what her waist looks like, it's still summer vacation now. When I go back to my hometown, I'll take her to the beach or swimming pool when I have time. With this figure, she can also do ballet. I wonder what it would be like if she wore a waist-revealing outfit to dance. Kurosawa Hikaru held her waist, and through the thin dress, he could feel her soft and smooth skin. The wonderful touch was really irresistible. When he was browsing Douyin in his previous life, he had seen that some beautiful sisters had very sexy waists. For some reason, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't know what he was thinking, and he gently held her waist and lifted her up and put her down again. In front of him, Miki Shiraha was like a super obedient kitten that he allowed himself to ravage and manipulate, reminding him of the good times when he learned postures with Xiaoyuki, learning knowledge. At this moment, Miki Bayu, who was buried in his shoulder, whimpered, as if complaining or not, twisted her body, as if she was sitting uncomfortably, and adjusted her position. Who can stand this? Hearing this gentle, delicate, shy whimper, like the most beautiful voice of a woman, Kurosawa Hikaru just felt that it was too deadly. At this moment, he was directly overwhelmed. Anyway, she was treated as a beast, and Miki Bayu was his girlfriend, a girlfriend who had been together after the official confession. Even if it was the second date, it didn't matter. If he didn't eat the meat that was delivered to his mouth, he would be worse than a beast. The next moment, he no longer hesitated, his hands loosened and no longer supported her waist, and began to be dishonest. "Senior, you are so bad." Miki Bayu found that his hands were dishonest, and she felt so shy that she buried her head in his left shoulder, and couldn't help opening her mouth to bite him. She clearly said that she would hug him for a while, but the senior touched her waist and messed around again. "Wait, don't bite." The clavicle felt wet, hot, and itchy, and Kurosawa Hikaru was startled and hurriedly pulled her away. He had an appointment with Chizuru tomorrow. If Bayu had a strawberry mark, who would have no idea how that jealous guy would react if he saw it? "Sorry, I didn't notice it just now." After the sudden separation, Sanmue Bayu saw his anxious look and realized what he had done, and immediately knew he was wrong. She knew that the senior had 5 girlfriends. If she bit down, whether it was the tooth mark or the strawberry, it would be very difficult for him to deal with it, but she forgot about it in her embarrassment. "Sorry, I was scared just now. You don't have to say sorry, it's my fault." Seeing that her face was still flushed and she looked extremely regretful, Kurosawa Hikaru felt guilty when he calmed down and quickly pulled her back. When people are in a high mood, they can't help doing many things. He knew that Sanmue Bayu definitely didn't mean it, but only did it out of modesty and shyness. Just like he did just now, he came to her house tonight as a guest, and he didn't think about that kind of thing, but the atmosphere was right, and he couldn't help himself and planned to be a beast. Senior is right, I suddenly wanted to bite you, I'm sorry. Being pulled in front of him again, San Mubayo knew that he was wrong first, and he felt very guilty. No matter what kind of man he is, seeing his beloved girlfriend bow her head and admit her mistakes, even a heart of stone will soften. You are not wrong, I am the one who is wrong, don't mind it. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that she was still admitting her mistakes, and gently pulled her into his arms again, coaxing her with a soft voice. If he hadn't touched her randomly and touched her all over, Bai wouldn't have done that. Senior, can I hold you for a while? San Mubayo knew that she was wrong first, but he tolerated her. However, she felt so comfortable burying her head in his arms and smelling his fragrance. Of course. How could Kurosawa Hikaru refuse such a request? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 445. Due to the little incident just now, even though Kurosawa Hikaru hugged her again, his hands were firm. No matter what, this is still the second date, so you shouldn't be too hasty when it comes to love. His relationship with Bayu has developed very quickly. Maybe they have known each other for a short time, but they only had their first date a few days ago, but even so, they became a couple in just one day. Counting it all together, it has only been a few days. If he hits the home run, he will directly set a new record. Senior, I won't bite you again. Mickey Bayu naturally noticed that his hands no longer moved around, and he hugged himself calmly, and hugged him for a while. After hesitation, he still mustered up the courage to say. Although she was very shy, she was not disgusted with what had just happened at all. It was just the first time she had faced it, and she didn't know what to do and was confused. If she does it again, she will never bite again. Actually, you can bite her. Seeing her speaking, Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and said seriously. But if I leave tooth marks and strawberries, won't it cause trouble for you? Mickey Bayu was very puzzled when he heard this. She could actually understand the senior's reaction just now, because she didn't see any strawberry marks on the senior's body. If she guessed correctly, Miss Ichino's and teacher Ninomiya should be very sensible and would not bite him. Then bite somewhere that won't leave a mark. Seeing that she didn't react, Kurosawa reminded her. In the process of getting along between men and women, men must take the initiative, take actions that are not excessive at the right time, and make jokes that are not excessive, which is conducive to the development of feelings and relationships. Then what place won't leave a mark? Mickey Bayu didn't hear the strange tone in his voice and said doubtfully. Except for the neck, there will be no teeth marks anywhere else as long as you don't use too much force. Realizing that she didn't understand at all, Kurosawa Hikaru paused for a few seconds and then said. He almost forgot that this girl, unlike Ms. Runa, an experienced driver, couldn't drive at all. Oh. Mickey Bayu nodded. She finally understood. In fact, it was not that the senior refused to let her bite, but he was just not sure whether she would leave a mark. Senior, do you hate being bitten? To be on the safe side, Mickey Bayu asked again. How can I hate it? Rather, I like it. If I control the intensity well, it's quite comfortable. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head. Comfortable. Mickey Bayu felt confused. She had never been bitten before, so she didn't know what it felt like. Next time I bite you, you'll understand. Seeing her ignorant look, Kurosawa's eyes dropped uncontrollably. He looked at her beautiful collarbones and milk-like skin, and his thoughts were a little bit agitated. Good. Mickey Bayu glanced at his mouth and felt shy for no reason, but still agreed. Come down first and I'll give you a massage. Seeing how easily she agreed, Kurosawa Hikaru followed suit. Aha! Miki Bayu was satisfied with holding him this time, and knew that it would be impossible to hold him like this all night, so she obediently got off him. You should soak your feet first. Soaking your feet can increase blood circulation and the massage effect will be better. Finally let her come down, Kurosawa Hikaru thought for a while and said. Then I'll go fetch water. Senior, can you help me take a look at what temperature is better for soaking my feet? Miki Bayu slightly nodded his head, stood up, walked a few steps and then turned around and asked. Kurosawa Hikaru originally thought that he didn't need help to check the temperature of the foot bath, as it differed from person to person, but considering that this was the reason why Miki Shiraya invited him into the house, it was better to cooperate, got up and followed him. This house is quite spacious. After all, it is a house-owning family in Tokyo. The bathroom is well decorated, with dry and wet separation. Crash. Entering the bathroom, Miki Bayu brought a blue bucket and started filling it with hot water. Although he wanted to check the water temperature, Kurosawa Hikaru, who was following behind, was unable to help and could only stand aside. Arriving in a new environment, Kurosawa Hikaru subconsciously looked at the decoration and layout of the bathroom, and suddenly saw a pink and white lace crotch in the clothes basket. The clothes basket is usually the clothes you change out of when taking a bath, because the order of undressing is usually from the outside to the inside, the underwear is usually on the outside. Isn't this the same one as before? Looking sideways at the fat man, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly remembered what happened when he met Miki Shiraba for the second time at the Tokyo Bunkakaikan. According to the principle of clothing matching, you must not wear dark underwear with a white dress, especially black and red. It can only be light colors, such as white, pink, white, light blue, etc. He just took a quick glance that day and didn't take a closer look out of politeness, but he still vaguely remembered the color. Noticing this, his eyes flew to Miki Bayu. At this moment, Miki Bayu was squatting in front of the bucket, holding the long skirt with one hand to prevent it from falling to the ground and getting dirty, and tilted his head slightly to watch the progress of filling the water. Her figure was already slender, but when she squatted down, she became even more petite. So cute. Kurosawa Hikaru was a little distracted when he saw her leaning out her head slightly, tilting her head and staring at the bucket seriously. Suddenly, he seemed to see Miki Bayu squatting in front of the bucket every night at home, filling the water carefully. This schoolgirl has a very special personality. Perhaps it is because she has been a figure skater since she was a child. She is always very serious about what she does and does not show any slack or laziness. Senior, what did you just say? The sound of the water was a bit loud, and I didn't hear it. Miki Bayu vaguely heard some movement, turned around, and looked at the senior standing outside the shower area with a pair of big light blue eyes. I just said you were so cute. Kurosawa realized that his inner voice was being spoken inadvertently, and instead of escaping, he raised his voice. Miki Bayu thought he wanted to remind herself that she had pretended enough, but she didn't expect him to say such things, and she suddenly felt a little panicked and at a loss. She didn't know how to respond, so she turned her head and looked at the bucket again. The attack is obviously super high, but the defense is not ordinary low. Seeing her cute and embarrassed look, Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head in amusement and walked into the wet and dry shower area. This water volume is enough, you can test the water temperature. Walking to her side, Kurosawa Hikaru lowered his head and glanced at the situation in the bucket, then reached out and turned off the faucet. This is a three-function shower, which is a faucet, a traditional shower, and a ceiling shower. The decoration is in place. Should I try it with my hands or my feet? When Miki Bayu heard this, he stood up and asked. Feet feel heat more clearly than hands. It is inaccurate to test the water temperature with hands. Although this question was quite idiotic, Kurosawa Hikaru explained without teasing her. When Miki Bayu heard this, she turned around and walked out of the shower area, walked to the completely closed toilet outside, lowered her head and took off her mid-length lace-thin white socks. Noticing this movement, Kurosawa's eyes followed her. In fact, he has never really seen Miki Bayu's feet. Every time he is either wearing socks or stockings. She likes white socks very much. Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but think when he noticed that her socks were the same as when she last went to his house. Bayu's daily dressing style is actually quite conservative. She always wears long dresses. In other words, she wears a costume on the skating rink, which is relatively exposed, but she also wears safety pants. At the same time, Miki Bayu took off his socks quickly and stepped on the slippers with his bare feet. Pink. Seeing this scene, Kurosawa's eyes were like a piece of iron meeting a magnet, and he was deeply attracted. Her feet are small, with graceful arches, and her toes are as slender as green onions. She has no nail polish and is a healthy crescent white. It may be because she insists on soaking her feet recently. Her skin is smooth and traceless, with a white and rosy look. It looks very pink and cute. Senior, what's wrong? After taking off his socks, Miki Bayu looked up and found that he was staring at her, a little confused. Your feet are beautiful. Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru came back to his senses, glanced at her pink feet again, and said bluntly. They are a couple, not an ordinary relationship. What's wrong with complimenting a girlfriend on the beauty of a certain part of her body? In fact, both boys and girls like to hear compliments. It's just that saying beautiful and handsome is too empty. In contrast, praising someone's beautiful hair and beautiful eyes will be more effective if you are more specific. Does it look good? When Miki Bayu heard this, he looked at his feet in surprise. This is the first time she has heard such a comment. She has never heard anyone say it since she was a child. It may be because she doesn't like to wear sandals and wears shoes and socks every day. Others can basically not see it. Super pretty. Kurosawa found that she didn't understand, so he added more. He is not afraid of exposing his hobby. After all, it is not a perverted hobby, and as long as Miki Bayu doesn't break up with him, he will always know about it in the future. Miki Bayu realized that he was serious, and immediately felt a little shy. He looked down again, spread his toes, and looked at him seriously. It's just feet, right? None of my seniors have ever praised me for being super beautiful. Could it be that the senior thinks my feet are more beautiful than my face? Although she was a little confused, she didn't ask any more questions. Instead, she stood up and quickly tested the water temperature. When she came to the bucket, she grabbed the hem of her skirt with both hands, then lifted her feet up and put them in the bucket. Will it be hot? Kurosawa Hikaru felt that her movement of lifting the skirt was very ladylike and beautiful, and he also cared about her. A little bit. If it's just a little bit, just put it in the living room and leave it for a while. Good. Miki Bayu nodded obediently and put on his slippers again. Then, she bent down and planned to move the bucket to the living room. Let me do it. However, before she could make a move, Kurosawa Hikaru reached out and lifted the bucket first. Thanks. When Miki Bayu saw how considerate he was, his eyebrows arched and he smiled. As a figure skater, although she has been recuperating for several years, carrying a bucket of water is very easy for her. But the senior helped her carry it, which gave her an indescribable feeling, like a ray of warm and comfortable sunshine, and she was no longer alone. Perhaps, this is the biggest advantage of falling in love. From now on, it is no longer one person, but two people together. Let's go. Seeing a peaceful and gentle smile on her pure and moving face, it was the first time that Kurosawa Hikaru saw her smile so beautifully, and he was amazed and smiled. More updates tomorrow. I will definitely update. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 446. Senior, have you ever learned pairs skating before? Sitting in front of the sofa, Mickey Baiu's small feet were stretched into the bucket, and her straight and slender calves were very eye-catching. She is in a very cheerful mood. She has been living alone for a long time since she came to Tokyo to attend university. Only during the school year, my parents stayed here for a few days and then went back to work in Hokkaido. No. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head. There are actually essential differences between skating and figure skating. The former is to control skates and move freely on the ice. Although it can also perform a variety of highly technical movements, the latter is dance, not just simple movements. Oh. After hearing this answer, Mickey Baiu opened his beautiful eyes slightly and nodded. Just now, she was still thinking wildly. Because she was Kurosawa-senpai, she had a glimmer of hope in her heart and couldn't help but believe in the possibility of winning the championship. But this is figure skating after all, not a piano competition or a Budo competition. However, she had long lost hope of winning the championship, and whether she could win or not was not very important to her. Have you learned it? Her words were unfounded, but Kurosawa guessed her little thoughts and asked. The trust and affection that the schoolgirl has for him is obvious. However, this matter involves her professional field, and she knows a lot. She has experienced many setbacks in the past few years, and she understands the difficulty of winning the championship better than the average person. I don't have one either, but it's easier to learn single and pairs skating because you have the basics. Mickey Baiu shook his head and explained. It is difficult to distinguish the difficulty of single skating and pairs skating, which is higher and which is lower. Each has its own difficulties. In fact, she thinks solo skating is more difficult in terms of learning difficulty and practice energy. Because there are cases in the figure skating world where singles have turned into pairs and achieved success, but there are very few cases where pairs have turned into pairs and achieved good results. Then let's learn together. Kurosawa Hikaru reached out and held her hand, playing with her white and tender little hands. Senior, you bought a pair of flower knife shoes, which are just right for use. When Mickey Baiu heard this statement, he was immediately eager to give it a try. The biggest difficulty in pairs skating is that you must have a partner of the opposite sex. Regardless of whether female athletes are willing to dance and skate with a partner of the opposite sex, it is very difficult to find an excellent partner for highly intimate cooperative exercises. You know, among figure skaters, the ratio of men to women can be said to be 1:10. Although it is not as exaggerated as the ratio gap in ballet, it is still obvious that there are more women than men. But she already has a partner. She didn't have the chance before, so it's good to give it a try now. Because of the topic of figure skating together, the two of them talked non-stop around pairs skating. That's almost it? Let me give you a massage. The best time to soak your feet is usually 30 minutes. Kurosawa counted the time and stood up. Good. Mickey Baiu did not hesitate at all to his request. Lift your left leg. Kurosawa Hikaru took a pack of tissue paper directly on the table and said. Immediately afterwards, Mickey Baiu lifted his left foot out of the water. After soaking in hot water for half an hour, her snow-white skin became even more red and pink. In response, Kurosawa Hikaru held her calf with his hand, took out a tissue and wiped it for her. Senior, I'll wipe it myself. Mickey Baiu's ears turned red all of a sudden, and he looked a little panicked. He didn't expect him to do this. But even if she tried to break free, her strength was nothing compared to Kurosawa Hikaru. As she struggled, her soft and small bare feet swayed in her hand, which made Kurosawa a little excited. It's okay, let me do it. However, Kurosawa Hikaru had no intention of taking advantage of him, but comforted him. Finding that he was very persistent, Mickey Baiu immediately found it difficult to struggle and could only submit obediently. After comforting her, Kurosawa gently and patiently helped her wipe away the water droplets, using tissue after tissue. Seeing her feet, held by him in the palm of his hand and gently wiped with the tissue, as if he was handling a fragile and beautiful treasure, Mikibayo felt shy for no reason and her face became hot. In fact, her struggle just now was not to repel the senior from touching her, but to feel flattered. Because she is also a fan of Zero Hour, and she surfs the internet when she has nothing to do. She knows very well that the hands of seniors, which fans call priceless treasures, can play countless sounds of nature. Such precious hands were actually wiping her feet, which made her feel a sense of blasphemy. Not long after, Kurosawa finished wiping one of her legs, then pulled her straight beautiful leg and put it on his lap to rest on. Senior is also very kind to me. As her left leg was placed on his lap, Mikibayo's beautiful eyes opened slightly, and a strange feeling emerged in her heart. It was an indescribable feeling of satisfaction. Suddenly, the figure that stunned everyone in the archery field and the mysterious and noble figure on the stage overlapped and transformed into the senior in front of them. The senior treated her like a princess, holding her in the palm of his hand, pampering and gentle, and even more so, he was a gentleman and handsome. Lift your leg again. Help her put her legs in place, Kurosawa asked again. With the experience just now, Mikibayo is also obedient. In response, Kurosawa followed suit and quickly pulled her other leg and put it on his lap. My legs are so cute, I don't know what it would feel like if I stretched them out. After finishing this matter, he lowered his head and took a look at Miki Shireo's slender, straight, beautiful legs with smooth skin, and couldn't help but admire them in his heart. After admiring it for a while, his eyes extended upward and saw her knees. I saw a 4 cm long light mark on her right knee, which should be the mark left by the surgery. A scar. Kurosawa Hikaru saw such a scar on this beautiful leg that was like a work of art. He reached out his hand a little distressed and gently rubbed it with his fingers. Over the past few years, her scars have become very light, very similar to her skin color, and even invisible if you don't look closely. However, even so, Mikibayo still chose to cover up, not wanting to be seen by others. Would it be ugly? Feeling his fingers gently caressing her, Mikibayo felt a little depressed when she saw the scar that couldn't be removed. Last time at the skating rink, her senior gave her a massage and said her legs were beautiful, but at that time, she was wearing flesh-colored stockings, so you couldn't actually see the details of her skin, only the shape of her legs. How could it be? It's very beautiful. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head and touched her scar with his fingers, showing pity for it. Until now, he could not imagine what it was like that day when Mikibayo was injured. To be more precise, he didn't dare to think how painful it would be to suffer such a serious injury. The physical pain was secondary. Because of this injury, Mikibayo, who was lying in the hospital bed, felt so desperate when he heard that he was forced to retire due to injury and could no longer be a professional player. He has never had such an experience and cannot empathize with it, but he can feel that such an experience is terrifying. That's good. Seeing his gentle and distressed eyes, Mikibayo felt extremely warm and breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, she was quite afraid of how her seniors would react when they saw her scars, whether they would feel disappointed or disgusted. She knows that she looks beautiful, has a slim figure, graceful curves, and a good temperament, but she also knows her shortcomings. She is not tall enough and her development is not good enough. The key is that she still has a scar on her knee that cannot be removed. She could feel that the senior liked her legs very much. After all, during the last massage, the senior's hands were quite dishonest. He not only massaged her knees, but also secretly touched her thighs, but she didn't touch them and let him misbehaving. But then she thought, sooner or later she would have to be honest with her senior. There was no way she could hide this scar forever. Facts have proved that she made the right choice. The senior did not dislike her, nor was she disappointed. The distressed look in her eyes was not staged. "Do you think it's ugly?" Immediately afterwards, Kurosawa Hikaru helped her massage the knee of her right leg and asked. "Very ugly." Miki Bayo looked down at the scar on his leg, nodded heavily, with complicated eyes. She hated this scar more than anyone else because it had ruined her career. However, she also knew very well that this scar was the result of her own fault, and no one else was to blame. She was too greedy. She won one championship after another, but she was too ambitious. She was not satisfied with this and continued to challenge difficult moves, and finally ended up where she is today. It was like an indelible scar that stayed in front of her forever. Every time she saw it, it made her very painful and difficult to let go. You know why I said it's beautiful? At this moment, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly asked. Why? Miki Bayo was very confused. Because it told me one thing. Even if you have been injured, fallen, or in pain, you still love figure skating as always. It has never changed. Kurosawa Hikaru looked down at her scars, and the desire in his heart became stronger. He wanted to help Bayu win a championship, let her stand on the field again, and let everyone see her hard work and persistence. He decided that whenever he had time, he would study more pairs skating. As long as he completes the second date task and relies on his proficiency in skating and ballet, he is absolutely sure to shine with Bayu on the field, win the championship, and let her stand in front of everyone again. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a gust of fragrant wind blowing towards him. The next moment, Miki Bayo hugged his face with both hands, and pressed her pink lips as soft as cotton candy on his mouth. The sudden kiss stunned Kurosawa. He lowered his eyes and saw the red corners of her eyes and her gentle, watery eyes. "Senior, I love you." After kissing each other for a long time, as the kiss broke apart, Miki Bayo looked at the man in front of him, feeling extremely moved in his heart. The senior's words just now touched the softest place in her heart. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 447. You. A gentle and sincere kiss, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little overwhelmed. "I have to say, it feels wonderful to kiss her. Calm down, this is the second date, at least wait until the next date." "Senior, can you kiss me?" Miki Bayo hugged his face, and couldn't contain the love in her heart. A man will die for his friend, this is not only applicable to men, but also to women. She originally liked the senior, because there was a period of love that could not be obtained, and she was extremely eager to be with him. This love was so strong that she found out that the senior was actually a philandering man who had multiple relationships at the same time, and she did not hesitate. After getting what she wanted and being together, she was very glad that she made such a choice. "Okay." Kurosawa Hikaru looked into her soft and loving eyes, listened to her soft voice, and couldn't refuse such a request at all, and directly responded with color and kissed her lips. The lips touched, which was different from her first time in love, without any experience, and only a simple mouth-to-mouth. In terms of kissing, Kurosawa Hikaru had received teachings from Shifunji Yuan Mirai, and his kissing skills were extraordinary. He also learned a lot with Zyuoki. "Senior is so skilled, completely different from me. Why is he like this?" As the defense line of his lips was breached, Miki Bayo suddenly widened his eyes, very shy, but still clumsily catered to him. The hot kiss lasted for a long time before it ended. "Huh." Miki Bayo wiped his forehead with his arm, his face was very flushed, sweat dripping, messy white hair stuck to his cheeks, his breathing was very disordered, and he felt dizzy. Although she was soaking her feet and the air conditioner had been turned on, she still felt very hot. "Are you satisfied?" Kurosawa Hikaru hugged her back with his arms to prevent her from falling. Seeing that she couldn't breathe, he licked his lips with satisfaction, but decided to stop. This kiss was a great test of his determination and rationality. If it weren't for the previous experience of being almost bitten by a strawberry, he would probably have turned into a beast again. But he was not a novice after all, and he could still control his hands from being dishonest when he was not kissing. Although Mickey Bayu was dizzy, she immediately shook her head when she felt that he was going to stop. The next moment, her action was almost instinctive. She took back her legs that were resting on his legs, and then stood up and sat on him all of a sudden. "Senior, I want more." Mickey Bayu was like a koala, sitting in his arms, hugging his neck, and was not satisfied with this at all. Kaka. As she sat in his arms, Kurosawa Hikari only felt a cracking sound in his mind, which was his rationality. The lethality of the sentence was too great, enough to break down any man's psychological defenses. It reminded him of the time when he was sparring with Xiaoyuki. "Let's stop here tonight, next time." However, Kurosawa Hikari still remained calm. He still insisted on his previous idea, not wanting Bayu to think that he was just greedy for her body. "Well, just tonight. You have so many girlfriends, I don't know when you will go out with me next time. You just said that you will be very busy next week." Sanmue Bayu hugged him, like a rocking horse, unwillingly. Maybe this date was only a few days apart from the last one, but she knew it was because the senior had just started dating her and wanted to spend more time with her. And when she was soaking her feet just now, the senior also told her in advance that the first practice of pair skating would have to be at least the next week, but how could it be satisfied now? At least a few more kisses. "Stop, don't move." Her coquettish speech made Kurosawa Mitsuru gasp and hurriedly stop. "Why?" Sanmue Bayu stopped obediently. "If you move again, the consequences will be serious." Kurosawa Mitsuru saw that she had not realized the seriousness of the problem, and warned her. "What will be the consequences?" Mimue Bayu saw that his expression was not right, and immediately calmed down a lot, even a little nervous. Could it be that the senior doesn't like being too clingy and acting like a spoiled child? Is he angry? Kurosawa Hikaru didn't say anything, just looked at her body. Even if her driving skills are poor, she is not a child anymore, but a college student. She should be able to understand some things even if they are not pointed out. Sensing the senior's hot and direct gaze, Mimue Bayu, who was sitting in his arms, could not understand what he meant, and her heart was warmed. "Senior, what are the consequences?" The next moment, Mimue Bayu pursed her lips and asked, pretending not to understand. "Do you really want to know?" However, Kurosawa Hikaru has the skill of mastery-level acting, and her acting skills are not enough. He saw it at a glance. Mimue Bayu obviously knew what the consequences he was talking about were, but pretended not to understand, and her heart was visible. In fact, the subtext of his words was obvious. He asked something else, but he was referring to something else. "I want to." Mimue Bayu was stared at by his burning eyes, and felt that she was seen through. She felt guilty, but nodded. "Whatever." Seeing her shy and cute nod, Kurosawa Mitsuru made up his mind and moved forward to kiss her lips. Why is it a second date? Why is it too early? Bayu is his girlfriend and his woman. If he has so many worries about what to do, it will happen sooner or later. At the same time, Kurosawa Hikaru stood up, hugged her and started walking. The sudden suspension startled her, and she subconsciously hugged Kurosawa's neck and clamped his legs around him. At this moment, it was as if she had truly transformed into a koala, hanging on his body. However, even if she didn't have time to move, Kurosawa Hikaru wouldn't let her fall because he was already holding her up. Then, without saying anything, he just hugged her and started walking. As for the destination, it was naturally Mickey Bayu's room. Crash. After the martial arts teaching, the sound of water could be heard in the private bathroom of the room. "Senior, do you want to take a shower?" Then, a soft voice sounded from the bathroom. "You wash it first, I'll wash it later. Kurosawa Hikaru sat on the head of the bed and responded when he heard this. At the same time, he was operating his mobile phone, sending good night greetings to Chizuru, Xiaoyuki, Miss Runa, and Mirai. When he and Xiaoyuki booked a room in a hotel and reached the peak of their lives for the first time, he forgot to send a message. Mirai directly guessed that he was spending the whole night with Xiaoyuki, while Chizuru thought he had given up by some mistake and mustered up the courage to send him a message. Although the results are generally good, I will just be a little jealous in the future. But whether it's early or late, it's better than missed hair. Brother Guang, do you want to go to bed so early today? As I sent them one by one, Yuki Ichino's responded quickly, which surprised me. The time now is less than 10:30. There have been a lot of things recently. I want to settle everything quickly and take you back to your hometown. Kurosawa Hikaru responded to this question by typing. There is no need to tell the truth about this kind of thing, after all, it won't make people happy if you tell it. A white lie will make people happier. You have to tell me in advance when you are going back. I have to ask for leave from the dance teacher, and I also have to ask for leave from Miss Igarashi. No problem, it should be finalized in a few days. I'll let you know then. Good night. Kissing expression. Good night. Kissing expression. In response, Kurosawa copied her expression and replied to her. At the same time, Ninomiya Chizuru also sent a message. Go to bed so early tonight. Go to bed early and get up early. You have a day off tomorrow. I want to wake up early to see you. Realizing that she felt strange, Kurosawa Hikaru quickly thought of an excuse. When chatting with a girl, never be unreasonable, and don't even think about telling the truth. Choose what she likes to say. When Ninomiya Chizuru saw this, she immediately stopped asking him why he went to bed early. Instead, after a pause, he sent 2 messages. Don't come to me tomorrow. I'll send you a message then and agree on a place to meet. Rana, I said that I am too famous now and may be followed by some internet celebrity anchors, so I should be careful. Good. Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and understood, and agreed. Although Sato Shinichi's name is very useful and can influence the mainstream media. However, many internet celebrity anchors operate independently. They will do anything for the sake of traffic and attracting attention, and they cannot control them at all. What's a pity is that it's not video or voice, otherwise, he would like to know how Sister Kinhee reacted when she heard what he just said. The pause just now must have been shy, flustered and happy, right? Go to sleep, good night. You also go to bed early, good night, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. On the other side, Igarashi Runa also replied, but did not interfere. She just said good night. I don't know whether it was because she was too busy at work or she didn't want to interfere. Nailed it? Kurosawa Hikaru breathed a sigh of relief. This time the problem was solved and no flaws would be revealed. Then, he started playing with his mobile phone. Senior, do you want to take a shower? Not long after, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly heard a gentle voice. Looking around, he saw Mikibayu hiding by the wall at the corner, sticking his head out to look at him. She has a small face and a pair of beautiful eyes, which are crystal clear and watery, and she is a little nervous and shy. Have you finished washing? Or do you want me to wash it for you? Kurosawa Hikaru saw her running out and put down the phone and asked. I haven't finished washing yet. Mikibayu nodded subconsciously, then realized and shook his head again. Have you not finished washing yet? Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't understand what she meant. He couldn't help but feel a little ready to make a move, and immediately got out of bed and walked over. I have to say that Mikibayu's character is really unique, because she can see her true heart clearly, even if she encounters difficulties, even if she is very shy, she will be brave enough to pursue what she wants. Just like tonight, she is really not an ordinary brave person. Seeing him getting out of bed and coming over, Mickey Bayu was startled and hurriedly covered his eyes. However, the fingers of her hands covering her eyes were widely spread apart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 448. In the morning, it was still light and birds were chirping. Although it was still early, Kurosawa Hikaru had already gotten up and started to get dressed. He had stayed at Miki's house last night, so he had to go home, take a shower, and change clothes. Because he hugged Bayu for a long time yesterday, he smelled of her perfume, and he had to meet Chizuru later, so he couldn't wear the set of clothes. Senior, what are you doing? Miki Bayu vaguely heard the movement and woke up. She raised her upper body and rubbed her eyes. The thin quilt covered her body, but the exquisite collarbone and the smooth and delicate shoulders were still very eye-catching even in the dimly lit room. I have something to do today, so I have to go home first. Looking back and seeing her charming appearance, Kurosawa Hikaru nodded and explained. Ah, are you leaving? Miki Bayu couldn't bear to leave when she heard this, and whimpered like a kitten about to be abandoned. Don't go skating for the next 2 days. You have to stay at home obediently, understand? Kurosawa Hikaru saw her reluctance and felt very soft-hearted. He walked to the bed, bent down and kissed her lips gently, touched her head, and said softly. He felt a little guilty. If he hadn't made an appointment with Chizuru in advance today, he could have stayed with her for a while longer today. Got it, kiss me again. Miki Bayu nodded obediently and said coquettishly. Maybe it was because she just woke up, or maybe it was because she knew they were going to separate. Her personality was a little softer than usual, and she loved to act coquettishly. Mua. Seeing that she was not satisfied, Kurosawa Hikaru wanted to make her happy, so he naturally satisfied her. This time he kissed her hard, and the movement was not small. Kiss me again. In fact, Miki Bayu didn't love to act coquettishly, but she knew that after the separation, the senior would have time to accompany her at least the next week, so she wanted to kiss her a few more times. Seeing that she was not so easily satisfied, Kurosawa Hikaru simply blocked her lips and gave her a warm good morning kiss. Have a good rest, be good, I will go skating with you after I'm done. He kissed her a few more times, finally satisfying her. Kurosawa Hikaru touched her head and said softly. Yeah, be careful on the road, senior. Miki Shiraha nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. If you miss me, send me a message. Kurosawa Hikaru smiled and reminded. Bye. Having decided on this, Kurosawa Hikaru did not forget to turn around and say goodbye to her at the door. Bye. Miki Shiraha sat up and waved gently. After saying goodbye, Kurosawa Hikaru walked out of Miki's house and closed the door. 6 o'clock. Although I didn't go to bed early, I woke up early. Taking out his mobile phone, Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at the dim sky, sighed, and left. Through the enhancement of various skills, his physical fitness is very strong. Even if he doesn't sleep much, he is still refreshed. I'm going to date Chizuru today. I don't know what to do, she is so famous now, she shouldn't go to public places. I have to think of a few good places. Taking the elevator down, he was also thinking about today's date. Although Chizuru is not an artist now, she is more famous than most big stars. When he returned home, it was already 6:20. It took a lot of time to go from Miki's house to the station, take the tram, and then go back home from the station. The main reason is that he didn't run. Sister Chizuru, good morning. When he returned home, Kurosawa Hikaru sent a message on his mobile phone. Last night, he said to go to bed early and get up early, so he must send the message as early as possible. However, his message did not receive a reply immediately, obviously he was not awake yet. After discovering this, he returned to the room, opened the closet, selected a shirt according to the skill level of makeup, and went to take a shower. After taking a shower and returning to the room, Kurosawa Hikaru picked up the phone, and Ninomiya Chizuru had already replied. "You woke up too early." After waiting for her reply, Kurosawa Hikaru did not hesitate and directly called to apply for a video call. However, the video application was not approved and was rejected. "Ninomiya Chizuru, I just got up and haven't washed up yet, let's communicate by text first. Don't you want me to see you wake up and don't wash up well?" You are still very burdened. Seeing this reply, Kurosawa Hikaru felt a little sorry. Just now, you looked very cute when she woke up. She looked dazed. Although her hair was a little messy, it was more real. He didn't care too much. Chizuru's personality was originally more reserved and a little arrogant. She felt that she didn't look good enough when she just got up and didn't comb her hair. It was normal that she didn't want him to see it. "Where do we meet?" Although they couldn't talk directly, Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and expressed his attitude of wanting to meet as soon as possible. "Ninomiya Chizuru, Runa said that if we want to meet, Chiyoda-ku is the best place. I'll check the map and tell you the specific location later." "Okay." Seeing this location, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't ask any more questions. Tokyo has 23 districts, and Chiyoda-ku is one of the most important areas. It is located in the center of the 23 districts and gathers various capital functions. It is the center of neon politics, administration, and justice. There are many people in such places, but compared with places like Shibuya, Shinjuku, and Ikebukuro where young people like to go, it is mostly a gathering place for elites and there are fewer star chasers. Moreover, the railway transportation there extends in all directions, making it easy to blend in with the crowd. I hope today's date goes well. Thinking of having to choose a special place for a meeting, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but mutter to himself. Although Chizuru is very satisfied with Adelina's identity as 0 Hour's girlfriend, and she is still attracting attention at the concert. But the issues that uncles and aunts are most worried about are real. As the girlfriend of an artist and being so famous, Chizuru's life and travel will inevitably be affected. As long as she goes to work, there will naturally be no problem, but as Adelina, it would still be quite troublesome for her to go out with him on a date if someone discovered her. What's more, Kins can't come to his house now, and he can't go to Kins' house. If someone sees him, the consequences will be serious. You have to buy a car. It's best to buy a villa with high confidentiality, and ask Ms. Sayaka for advice on how to protect privacy. After much thought, Kurosawa Hikaru also came up with a solution. Nowadays, Kinzuru's identity is relatively special and sensitive, and she must try to avoid taking public transportation, such as trams, high-speed rails, airplanes, etc., as she can be easily recognized. In contrast, if you have a private car, you only need to pay attention when getting in and out of the car, which can greatly avoid the risk of being recognized. Thinking of this, he also sent a message to Igarashi Runa to express his needs. Adelina is so famous that the location of the Ninomiya family is no longer a secret to many caring people. In the open-air parking lot outside the apartment, a 30-year-old man with stubble and dark circles, wearing a hooded sweatshirt on a hot day, stood leaning against a car, eating a sandwich bought from a convenience store. "I hope I can shoot at midnight today. If it drags on any longer, I won't be able to stand it any longer." The bearded man murmured to himself as he ate a sandwich and drank an energy drink, staring at the door of the apartment. He is a YouTuber, his real name is Yamazaki Yahito, but he doesn't have many fans. He has always wanted to be a famous YouTuber. He has put in a lot of efforts and followed trends. However, it is too difficult to become famous and have a large number of fans. But this time he firmly believed that he could become popular because he had keenly noticed that the whole internet wanted to know the true face of Zero Hour. It's just that Zero Time has hidden it well and has few public activities. Although he is a nationally famous superstar, no media has ever dug out his true identity. None of the major media have been able to find out the true identity of Zero Hour. If he were to find out, his next video would definitely become a hit on the entire internet. His method is very clear, which is to follow Adelina. As a casual girlfriend, they will meet sooner or later. What was more difficult to handle was that since the concert, he had followed her for 2 days and 2 nights, sleeping only a few hours a day. As a result, Adelina did not date her boyfriend at all, but went to the bank to work every day. Coming. At this moment, Yamazaki Yahito suddenly saw a sneaky figure walking out of the door of the apartment, and his eyes lit up. It was a woman wearing a red coat, her hair completely covered with a hat and sunglasses and a mask. Although most of her figure was covered, he could still recognize it at a glance. This person was definitely Adelina. Because even though she was wearing a coat, there was still a section of her calf that couldn't block it. But just by exposing a portion of her calves, it can be seen that she is a beauty with a pair of super beautiful legs. The most important thing is that she has a very tall figure. With high heels, she is at least 1.73 meters tall. She has a model-level figure. It's hard to recognize the woman who has such a good figure and is so sneaky that she walks out of this apartment with her head covered and her face covered. This is definitely a date. Yamazaki Yahito saw her looking around and hurriedly hid beside the car, his heart beating very fast. However, just as he was about to follow him, he saw Adelina walk to the side of the road, open the taxi door, and get in directly. Immediately afterwards, the taxi set off. Don't she have a car and take the subway when she goes out? Seeing this scene, Yamazaki Yahito was immediately dumbfounded. How to track this? He didn't even have a car, so how could he follow him in a taxi? Damn rich people. Yamazaki Yahito took out his wallet and took a look. There was only a few thousand yen in it. Then he looked at the taxi driving away. He was extremely angry and cursed through gritted teeth. Not to mention that he didn't have money to take a taxi. Even if he did, by the time he called a taxi to follow him, he would have been left behind. After waiting hard for 2 days and 2 nights, the opportunity finally came, but I couldn't seize it. 3 more to come. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 449. It should be around here. Kurosawa Hikaru looked at the navigation on his phone and arrived at his destination. He looked at the map and looked around, but he couldn't find Chizuru Ninomiya. Kurosawa. At this moment, a gentle call sounded from the side. Following the sound, Kurosawa Hikaru saw a sneaky-looking man wearing a coat, hiding his head and face. Sister Chizuru. Aren't you hot? Faced with her identity, Kurosawa felt hot looking at her clothes. It's August, a period when Tokyo is very hot. Even wearing short sleeves will make you extremely hot. Although it is still early, not yet 8 o'clock, the sun is already hanging in the sky. It can't be helped by the heat. If I didn't dress like this, people would recognize me no matter where I go. Ninomiya Chizuru was helpless about this. My childhood girlfriend, this identity has its advantages and disadvantages. Almost everyone knows her. On weekdays, when I go to work normally, I may encounter fans, but overall, it's not a big problem. But like now, it has become very troublesome to meet and date Kurosawa. You must be careful not to reveal your identity. If someone saw her dating Kurosawa, it would be big news. Let's find a place where no one is around first. It's not convenient to talk here, and you look quite hot. Kurosawa Hikaru could feel her rolling her eyes through her sunglasses, a little amused and distressed. Good. Ninomiya Chizuru agrees with this choice. Just now, she didn't feel the air conditioning in the taxi, but when she arrived at her destination, she waited for half an hour and was about to die from the heat. Seeing that she left the decision to him, Kurosawa thought for a while, then took out his phone and opened the map to look at it. Let's go to the hotel. After thinking about it, Kurosawa made a decision quickly. In fact, he had predicted that this date would be more troublesome, just like dating a female celebrity. However, the problem is not that big, because the business has a backstage, and there are no paparazzi or reporters to follow and take photos. The only people to watch out for are internet celebrity anchors and passers-by. Internet celebrity anchors are different from professional paparazzi, and they are quite easy to deal with. As for passers-by, it's even easier. You can get away with a disguise, as long as you don't show your full face in public. Hotel. Ninomiya Chizuru was a little concerned when she heard this destination. Although she had known Kurosawa for a long time and had gone on quite a few dates, they had never booked a hotel room together so far. She knew very well what it meant when a man and a woman went to a hotel to book a room. You have to change your clothes, otherwise you won't be able to move outside today in your current state, and the sun will only shine more in the future. Because she was wearing sunglasses and a mask, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't see her expression and could only feel her state through her tone of voice, but it was true. He had absolutely legitimate reasons. He made the choice of hotel after careful consideration. It's broad daylight now. Even though it's morning, it's the rush hour for work, and housewives buying groceries are running around. It's also summer vacation, so it's not that easy to find a safe private space. Maybe a place like karaoke would count, but it's not suitable for changing clothes. By elimination method, the only option is to book a room. Then let's go to the hotel. Ninomiya Chizuru was silent for a while, and after a fierce ideological struggle, she nodded. I found a hotel nearby and check-in was very simple, usually without showing ID. Beep. After walking into the room with the room card, Kurosawa Hikaru immediately turned on the air conditioner. So hot. As the door closed, Ninomiya Chizuru walked in, looked around, found the clothes rack, and couldn't wait to walk over, taking off her coat as she walked. Under the coat, she wore a black knee-length floral skirt, with two flower-knotted slings on her pearly shoulders. The black outfit made her fair skin appear more tender and pleasant. Under the hem of the skirt, a pair of straight and slender white calves were exposed, and she was wearing a pair of 3-centimeter blue and white high heels. She looked very elegant and virtuous. After hanging her coat on the clothes rack, she took off her hat, sunglasses, and mask. Her blue hair was completely spread out as she shook her head. Kurosawa Hikaru, who was on the side, slowly followed her into the room. When he saw her graceful and sexy back, he looked sideways. The figure difference between her and Bayu was really big. What are you looking at me for? After taking off her disguise clothes and finally feeling cool, Ninomiya Chizuru gently fanned herself with her hands. When she turned around, she found that he was staring directly at her, and she couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. At this time, she realized what she was doing. She actually walked into the room and took off her clothes, even though she was wearing a coat. Her impatient actions were too outrageous. Her temperament is cold and intellectual, her beautiful blue eyes are like jade or the blue sea, and her delicate and beautiful face has a hint of shyness. She may be 28 years old, but the years have left only the charm of a mature woman on her face, which is completely different from that of a young girl. I just think you are beautiful, don't dress like this next time. In fact, if you dress like this, you will be more eye-catching. Kurosawa Hikaru coughed dryly, suppressed the heat in his heart, complimented her, coughed dryly, and changed the subject. I don't want to do this either, but Runa said my hair is too conspicuous. Ninomiya Chizuru noticed his reaction, feeling proud and secretly happy, but also helpless. A woman likes her appearance, and it is a matter of great joy that her beauty can attract someone she likes. Just put on a hat, a mask, and sunglasses. There's no need to wear a coat. On our way to the hotel just now, your return rate was as high as 300%. Everyone looked at you at least 3 times. Kurosawa Hikaru naturally knew about this and reminded him. Wearing a coat in such a hot weather will definitely make you the most conspicuous person on the street. With a hat, sunglasses, and a mask, it will be difficult for others not to notice you. Putting aside the attention-grabbing thing, wearing a coat in this weather was uncomfortable. I know, but if I don't wear a coat, everyone will look at me more, and I'll be recognized by a lot of people when I walk out of the apartment. Ninomiya Chizuru rolled her eyes at him. Although it was painful and eye-catching, at least others could not recognize her. Why do people recognize you when you walk out of your apartment? Kurosawa Hikaru didn't understand. She had already disguised herself and covered her hair. I was the only person of my size in that apartment. Ninomiya Chihi heard this and hesitated for a moment before answering. After saying this, her pretty face turned red, as if she was showing off her figure. Really? Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at her and understood immediately. As a girl, she is more than 1.7 meters tall, has long legs, bulging front and back, and graceful and sexy curves. She has a figure that could be used as a model. Such a figure is indeed rare. Anyone walking around her apartment can recognize her if she is not covered by a coat. But I think you will be recognized even if you wear a coat. After all, you are dressed so uniquely that it is difficult for others to guess. Although he liked her figure very much, Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and said, "This is indeed the case. Let alone someone who is specifically following her, anyone who knows Ninomiya Chizuru would find it difficult not to recognize her. At least when you step out, others won't recognize you." Ninomiya Chizuru naturally knew this truth, but she had no choice but to sigh softly and frown slightly. As expected, if you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight. It's really not that easy to be a childhood girlfriend. Don't sigh. Your disguise doesn't need to be so troublesome. It can be solved easily. Seeing her troubled look, Kurosawa Hikaru walked forward. Easy. Ninomiya Chizuru raised her eyes and looked at him, not understanding what he meant. There are 3 most prominent features of your appearance. The first is your hair, then your eyes, and finally your appearance. As for your figure, it's not really a problem. It's just that it's the most unique in your apartment, but on the street, even if you have a high rate of turning heads, it's not easy for anyone to recognize him at a glance. Kurosawa nodded, trying to clarify her thoughts before giving her a move. You're right. Ninomiya Chizuru thought for a while and nodded. Because Adilana's MV video became popular across the country, her blue hair, eyes, and appearance are extremely recognizable. The reason why the eyes are so recognizable is because the look back at the end of the MV is widely loved by fans. In that case, just block these 3 characteristics. After receiving her approval, Kurosawa Hikaru continued. He didn't want Chizuru to wear a coat anymore. After all, wearing a coat in such a hot summer was very painful. This can be seen from the moment she walked into the room and took off her coat, without even bothering to be reserved. You mean, I don't need to wear a coat next, I just need to wear a hat, sunglasses, and a mask? Ninomiya Chizuru thought for a while and concluded. My method is wig, contact lenses, eye makeup, and a mask. Seeing that she was eager to reach a conclusion, Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head and expressed his considerations. A wig. Ninomiya Chizuru was thinking about the feasibility of this method. If a girl wears a hat and completely covers her hair, she is still very conspicuous. And if the hat falls off, others will easily recognize you when they see your hair. Kurosawa Hikaru, who came up with this method, is already a little eager to try it. With makeup skills, his makeup skills are super strong, and he really wants to see what sisterkin he will look like under his transformation. Maybe you have put on makeup before, but if you put on a wig, it has a different meaning. Good. Ninomiya Chizuru was still thinking about it, but seeing that he was a little excited, she simply followed him. I'm going to buy you a wig and contact lenses, as well as a set of cosmetics. You can sit in the hotel for a while. After deciding on this matter, Kurosawa Hikaru immediately wanted to take action. He didn't just want to see a different kin's sister. The key was that if this plan was feasible, their date would be able to go out openly without having to hide and worry about being recognized. Wait a moment. Seeing him about to set off, Ninomiya Chizuru stopped him. What's wrong? Kurosawa Hikaru, who was about to turn around, stopped. You're buying something for me, so I'll give you this credit card. Ninomiya Chizuru took out a lightweight women's bag from the coat pocket on the clothes rack and took out a credit card. No, it won't cost much to buy these things. Although she handed over the credit card in a very rich and beautiful way, Kurosawa Hikaru still shook his head. Perhaps Japan adheres to the social atmosphere of a system, but Kurosawa Hikaru is not a thorough Japanese. He thinks it is normal to spend money on his girlfriend. What's more, the things he wants to buy this time are for her to disguise herself and make it convenient for them to go on a date, which is also beneficial to him. It's like buying black silk, underwear, cosmetics, uniforms, and other things for your girlfriend. On the surface, it seems that the person who enjoys it is the girlfriend, but in fact, the person who enjoys it is him. What's wrong with spending some money? Ninomiya Chizuru didn't speak, and looked at him with a pair of beautiful eyes. Okay. Finding that she was very determined, Kurosawa Hikaru had no way to refuse and could only take it. Because Chizuru is a thorough Japanese woman, she has long been accustomed to the social atmosphere of a system, and she is a rich woman. The password is 35. Seeing him take the credit card, Ninomiya Chizuru smiled and told him the password. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 450. Wigs, contact lenses, and cosmetics are compulsory courses for neon girls. Wigs are not only used for cosplay, but can also be used for decoration in daily life. For example, wearing 2 more wig pieces can make the hair look thicker. Whether a girl has more or less hair has a great impact on her appearance. In fact, if you want to look good, your hair is really important. In contrast, neon boys do not have so many required courses. This is also the fundamental reason why there are many beauties and few handsome men on the street, and why neon cowherds are particularly popular. After running around for a while, Kurosawa bought everything and returned to the hotel. During this period, nothing special happened. He just found the store, walked in, selected the goods, and paid with his card. Originally, he wanted to pay for it himself, but considering that sisterkin he gave him the credit card, if he didn't use it, he would know later and he might be unhappy, so he simply swiped the card. I'm back. Back at the hotel, Kurosawa Hikaru found the room, pressed the doorbell, and called out. Unlike at home, there are usually no peepholes or surveillance cameras on hotel room doors, so no visitors can be seen. With the sound of footsteps, the door was opened. Back so soon? Ninomiya Chizuru stood at the door, a little surprised. I ran out for more than 40 minutes. Kurosawa Hikaru saw her appearance, smiled, and shrugged while carrying large and small bags. In order to buy the things, he took a taxi directly to the familiar Shibuya area. Regardless of this matter for the time being, it feels good to go back to the original place after a trip and find someone waiting for you. Especially when the person waiting for you is a beautiful woman, it is like coming home to see your beautiful wife after work, which makes people feel very comfortable. Thanks a lot. Ninomiya Chizuru saw a thin trickle of sweat on his forehead and stepped aside. After following her into the room, Kurosawa put down the things and breathed a sigh of relief. But the feeling of carrying something for a long time and finally putting it down gives people a feeling of relaxation. At this moment, Ninomiya Chizuru brought a tissue and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Thanks. Kurosawa Hikaru had just been out in the sun and walking around again. His body was already a little warm. When he looked down, he suddenly felt even hotter. Although the floral skirt she wore was a relatively conservative type, it mainly exposed her smooth shoulders and collarbones, as well as her slender neck. It was not a low-cut dress. But her figure was so good that at close range, she seemed to be looking down into the abyss. Pervert, where are you looking? Ninomiya Chizuru was considerately helping him wipe his sweat, but when she found out that he was peeking at her, she suddenly became a little shy, covered her chest with her hands, rolled her eyes at him and spat. This eye roll can be described as very charming. It seems to be complaining, but it is not angry at all, but it is angry and happy at the same time. I can't help it, it's all gravity's fault. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't blush when the peeping incident was discovered. You want to say gravity makes your eyes fall down? Ninomiya Chizuru was a little amused when she saw that he was still quibbling. In fact, it didn't matter if he looked at her. After all, their relationship was very close. They were already talking about marriage and had met their parents, although she had not met Kurosawa's parents yet. Gravity means that the greater the mass of the planet, the greater the gravity. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head and said seriously. It's so unserious. Ninomiya Chizuru thought about it carefully, realized what he meant, and gave him a look of shame. This guy, in a roundabout way, said she was big. He actually said such things to a girl. How come she hadn't realized that Kurosawa was so bad before? Hey. Kurosawa didn't deny it either. The way Chizuru-san is glaring at people is so charming. She is obviously not angry, but she pretends to be angry to cover up her shyness, which is particularly cute. Seeing that he had the nerve to smile, Ninomiya Chizuru really had no way to deal with him, so she simply turned around and walked away. Have you changed into slippers? Although her back was charming and swaying, making her look like a sexy stunner, Kurosawa Hikaru noticed the changes in her. They were obviously cheap and ordinary slippers, but when worn on her feet, they gave people an inexplicable sense of luxury. Her ankles were smooth and round, and with every step she took, the soles of her feet were lifted slightly, and the white soles of her feet and the charming arch curves were particularly beautiful. Because I had to stay in the hotel for a while, I changed into it. Ninomiya Chizuru walked to the bedside table, picked up a bottle of mineral water, walked back and handed it to him. Although she likes wearing high heels and thinks they look better, it is easier to wear slippers if she is not moving around indoors for a while. Good. Kurosawa Hikaru took a few sips of the mineral water and couldn't help but glance down. I saw the 10 slender toes at the front of the pair of slippers, which looked extremely pleasant. Does he like my feet that much? Ninomiya Chizuru followed the angle of his gaze and glanced down, and found that he was not peeking at her chest this time, and she felt inexplicably ashamed in her heart. Obviously, people won't feel anything when looking at this kind of part. They can be seen everywhere on the street, and few people will cover it up. But because she knew Kurosawa was a foot control, she couldn't help but start to feel concerned. Let's start putting on makeup and see the effect. You go and sit by the bed. After drinking a few sips of water, his body was completely refreshed, and Kurosawa Mitsuru screwed the cap on the bottle and said, the disguise must be solved first, which determines whether he can run around with Chizuru today. Okay. Ninomiya Chizuru looked back at the big bed, feeling a little nervous and expectant. When she was waiting alone in the hotel just now, she had been on that big bed. It was quite comfortable. Maybe it was because of the environment, she always felt that something would happen, and she thought about it for a long time. As she walked over, Kurosawa Mitsuru squatted down and started to take things out of the big and small bags. I'm not sure what color you like, but I just wanted to avoid being too unique, so I chose black hair. First, he took out the wig, took a look, and explained. In fact, he didn't want to choose black hair, because it was a rare opportunity, and he could wear a wig. This was simply his girlfriend cosplaying for him. But his girlfriend has colorful hair. If he chose blonde hair, Chizuru might think of Xiaoyuki and get jealous. If he chose white hair, Chizuru might get jealous when she knows about his relationship with Baiyu. Although he will have long straight black hair in the future, there is a very legitimate reason, which is universality. Perhaps many people in this parallel world have different hairstyles, but there are still many people with black hair. In general, it is the desire to survive that overwhelms the idea of cosplay. It doesn't matter, as long as I can avoid being recognized. Ninomiya Chizuru shook her head and didn't care much about it. Compared with such small details, she would rather go shopping with Kurosawa hand in hand, rather than going to a place where there are few people and others don't know her. That's fine. Seeing that she didn't think much about it, Kurosawa Hikaru was relieved immediately. Except for the wig, there is no need to explain other things, and they are taken out one by one. Finally, after taking all the things to be used to the bedside table and putting them away, Kurosawa Hikaru climbed onto the bed from Chizuru's side. Didn't you say you want to put on makeup? What is he doing on the bed? Ninomiya Chizuru's heartstrings tightened when she saw this action. Although she is the older girlfriend, her parents have strictly restricted her from making friends since she was a child, and she has very little experience of being alone with men. She has no experience of renting a room in a hotel with a man, staying in the same room with a man, and even sleeping in the same bed. Sister Chizuru, your hair is so beautiful. Climbing behind her, Kurosawa Hikaru reached out and lifted her thick and delicate blue hair. He felt like he was touching top-grade silk and couldn't help but sigh. This hair color is really beautiful, and it is pure natural, not dyed. The hair quality is very good and feels great. You too. Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't see his movements and became more nervous. Kurosawa, what are you doing? After a pause of a few seconds, Ninomiya Chizuru felt that he had been playing with her hair. She always felt that his hand would touch the back of her neck in the next second, so she couldn't help asking. Help you comb your hair. Before changing the wig, you have to wear a hair net hood first. Kurosawa Hikaru picked up the comb and helped her comb her hair carefully. Oh. Ninomiya Chizuru paused after hearing this and found that she had misunderstood him. He was really putting on makeup. For some reason, she felt a little regretful in her heart. Although she had already made up her mind to go to Hakone to soak in hot springs next week and stay overnight, she wanted to make substantial progress with Kurosawa. But it was not unacceptable for her to make substantial progress today. After all, she had waited too long. Not long after, Kurosawa Hikaru helped her put on the wig, came to the front, and started to put on eye makeup for her. Although it was not the first time for him to put on makeup, Ninomiya Chizuru always felt that his face was so close this time. He is so close, does he want to kiss me? Or is he seducing me and wants me to kiss him? If I kiss him, what will his reaction be? How can he be so handsome? His fingers are so beautiful. His lips. Ninomiya Chizuru, who could only let him do whatever he wanted, looked at Kurosawa Hikaru's face, and gradually became fascinated with him as he thought about it, and was a little crazy. In fact, no matter men or women, as they grow older, after the age of 20, they will gradually become less concerned about the appearance of the opposite sex. Because good looks cannot be used to make a living, whether it is marriage or dating, various compatibility is more important than appearance, and they will compromise for life. Having said that, if one's own conditions are very good and there is no need to make compromises, they will still pursue better objects. After waiting for a while, Ninomiya Chizuru found the opportunity when Kurosawa turned around to get other cosmetics and kissed him. Kurosawa Hikari, who was seriously putting on makeup and thinking about how to do it, felt the warmth on her lips and was stunned for a moment. Then he saw that she closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling constantly, and she looked very nervous. In his ears, the voice of the system sounded, "Task progress update, kiss 10 times 2/10. Listening to the voice of the system, Kurosawa Hikari did not move and let her kiss him. At this moment, Ninomiya Chizuru was curious about his reaction, so she secretly opened her eyes to see what he was thinking. As soon as she opened her eyes, she met a pair of smiling and tender black eyes. She panicked and closed her eyes again. How can she be so cute? Seeing her reaction, which was like she had done something bad and was extremely guilty, Kurosawa Hikaru sighed in his heart and responded to her kiss, opening his mouth and gently biting her delicate lips. She was obviously a mature and cold queen, but she was like a little girl who was just beginning to fall in love. She was nervous even when kissing. This sister is so cute. 2 more chapters are here. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 451. Originally, a man and a woman were in a rather delicate situation in a hotel. This kiss directly broke the balance, and the atmosphere became charming. As the lips parted, a blush appeared on Ninomiya Chizuru's cold face, and she lowered her eyes and did not dare to face it. She felt that she was too impulsive. Although Kurosawa Hikaru's face was so close and it was indeed very attractive, she couldn't hold it back. Maybe they were a couple, but it was still early in the morning and they had just gone out. What if Kurosawa wanted to have sex with her? Although she thought it wouldn't matter if it was earlier, it was her first time and she didn't want to be so hasty. If possible, she still hoped to go to Hakone for a hot spring vacation at night. She always felt that would be better. It's easy for makeup to melt into flowers. Don't move around, otherwise it won't look good. Kurosawa Hikaru was not a quick-tempered person, so he noticed her embarrassment and shyness and spoke to break the silence. How can it not look good? Ninomiya Chizuru raised her eyes to look at him and couldn't help but said. Just kidding, Sister Kinhe's face is so pretty, even if she is scribbling on it, she will still look good. Seeing her glare, Kurosawa smiled. Obviously, although Sister Kinhe is a bit inferior to her age, which can be described as a minefield, she is not generally confident in her appearance. It's normal to think about it. With the blessing of the idol halo, Adilana's reputation on the internet has become unstoppable, and she even has the title of the most neon beauty. Neon people are very obsessed with strong people and like to give nicknames. With just one MV, he became popular all over the country and even became famous overseas. The key is that his temperament and appearance are so amazing. His extraordinary rise is so fast that all artists can't match it. It's amazing. That's an exaggeration. Ninomiya Chizuru rolled her eyes at him. After diverting her attention, Kurosawa continued to apply makeup on her. Eye makeup is a delicate job and must be done carefully. Wear a wig, change contact lenses, put on eye makeup, comb your hair, and you're done in no time. Nailed it? After combing her hair, she came to the front again. Kurosawa looked at her condescendingly and paused for a while before speaking. What did it turn into? Seeing his reaction, Ninomiya Chizuru was curious. She wasn't sitting on the dressing table or directly facing the mirror. She didn't even know what she had become. There's no small mirror here. Let's go to the bathroom and look. Kurosawa raised the corners of his mouth, but instead of revealing the answer, he extended his hand to her. Seeing that he was sober, Ninomiya Chizuru immediately grabbed his hand and was pulled by her to stand up. Immediately, the two people walked into the bathroom one after another. Kurosawa Hikaru, who was walking in front, turned on the light. Coming to the bathroom, Ninomiya Chizuru immediately saw the large mirror in front of the sink. After just one glance, she froze, raised her hand and touched her face, extremely shocked. Because she looked so strange in the mirror, at first glance, she couldn't even tell it was herself. If she hadn't been extremely familiar with her nose, mouth, and face shape, and could probably recognize them, she would have suspected that there was something wrong with the mirror. Gorgeous. Kurosawa Hikaru stood aside and looked at her in the mirror, stared at her for a while, and then said softly. Kinhee in the mirror has thick and straight black hair like a waterfall, beautiful eyebrows, slightly drooped eye corners, eyelashes like fans, and skin as white as jade. She looks cold and intellectual, but her black eyes seem to contain all kinds of autumn water. Deep and gentle, full of the charm of classical beauty. Quiet, reserved, gentle and considerate, just like Yamato Nadeshiko. Just changing her hair and eyes, and changing the shape of her eyes under the influence of eye makeup, she completely changed her person. Is this really me? Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't help but turn around and ask, but she regretted it as soon as she said it. She always felt that she had asked a very stupid question. In fact, she has long known that Kurosawa Hikaru's makeup skills are very strong, which may be related to his good at painting. It's just that when filming the MV, Kurosawa always helped her put on light makeup, mainly helping her comb her hair, braid her hair, and match her clothes. No matter who it was, everyone could tell it was her. But it was different now. She felt like she was a completely different person. Of course it's you. Kurosawa Hikaru looked down at her raised eyes and nodded slightly. I have to say, she looks so beautiful. Sister Kinhee's appearance is inherently stunning, even if her hair and eyes are changed. It's unbelievable. With my current appearance, even if I walk down the street without a mask, no one would be able to recognize me. Ninomiya Chizuru looked at herself in the mirror and liked it very much. Ever since the official announcement of their relationship, everyone knew that she was Adelina and her girlfriend from Zero Time. She can be said to have a love-hate relationship with her appearance these days. What I love is that she is so beautiful, so Kurosawa will not dislike her age. What I hate is that her appearance is so unique. Even if she wears sunglasses and a mask, others can recognize her just by her hair. No matter where she went, she was always the center of attention and deeply troubled. If it's Ms. Runa, cover your eyes and just look at your nose and mouth. You should be able to recognize her. For fans, those die-hard fans may also be able to recognize you. Kurosawa Hikaru did not agree with this statement, but said he was helping Chizuru disguise herself, not cosplaying for her, and deliberately kept some of her appearance features, such as her nose and mouth. If he changed everything, then Chizuru would not be Chizuru, but someone else. No way. Ninomiya Chizuru felt that this makeup was no different from a disguise. Even if Runa had a deep friendship with her, she was very familiar with her appearance, even if she could recognize her from behind. But now that she was wearing makeup, the difference was so big that even she couldn't recognize her. Because your nose and mouth are very beautiful, anyway, I can recognize you just by looking at your lips. Kurosawa Hikaru said affirmatively. This was the truth, because Chizuru's lips were really beautiful, and it was one of his favorite places. Plump and tender, with round lips, delicate and small, beautiful curves, very elegant, and very three-dimensional. It's still possible to be recognized, so what should I do? Continue to put on makeup. Ninomiya Chizuru saw his confident attitude, and felt a little happy in her heart, and asked again. Wear a mask. Kurosawa, Will you put on makeup for your mouth and nose? Don't you want to wear a mask? Kurosawa Hikaru found that she was not satisfied with this, and after thinking about it, he guessed the reason. Because it is more comfortable not to wear it? Ninomiya Chizuru nodded. Even if the mask she bought is a little more expensive, it is very breathable, and the shape is better, and it is beautiful to wear, but it is better to wear nothing. Kurosawa Hikaru heard this and couldn't help but glance at her sideways, and agreed with the view that it is more comfortable not to wear it. I will, but I don't want to. Finding that her expression was very serious, Kurosawa Hikaru did not deliberately change the subject, but shook his head. Why? Will it be troublesome? Ninomiya Chizuru actually didn't want to cause trouble for him. After all, she was older and it was her who should take care of Kurosawa. It's not troublesome, but I want to kiss lips like yours, and I like your mouth very much. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head again and said seriously. You like my mouth again? Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't help but question. This brother is dishonest and always lies to her. Even if she easily believes him, he is not so easy to fool. I love the house and the dog. As long as it's Sister Chizuru's, I like it. What's more, your mouth is really beautiful, I really like it. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't know why she questioned it, but he didn't feel guilty. Just like when he saw Chizuru's ears and neck, he was fascinated and liked it from the bottom of his heart. He can be sure that even if it's Sister Chizuru's shoulders, waist, belly, and jade back, he will like it. Because Chizuru is so beautiful, every move, every frown and smile, there is an incomparable charm. If you like it so much, why don't you kiss it more? Ninomiya Chizuru rolled her eyes at him, still didn't believe it, and said angrily. After she finished speaking, her face turned red, and she accidentally said what she was thinking. So that's it, you want me to prove it? After hearing this, if Kurosawa Hikaru still didn't understand, then he was too stupid, and suddenly realized it. Immediately, he didn't hesitate, and directly stretched his hand through her waist, hugged her and kissed her directly. Her lips were very soft and moist, just like eating a piece of pudding. Suddenly being hugged and kissed, Ninomiya Chizuru moaned, but didn't resist. Her personality was more reserved. In fact, if Kurosawa took the initiative, no matter what he wanted to do, she would not refuse, at most she would refuse verbally. After all, she really liked Kurosawa, as long as she could make him happy. More than 10 minutes later, the two walked out of the bathroom together. Pervert! Ninomiya Chizuru glared at him while walking, while tidying up her messy skirt. In fact, she only blamed him verbally. After all, she was taken advantage of. If she didn't complain, she would always feel bad. She could only pretend to be angry to cover up her shyness and smugness. It's not my fault, it's too tiring to keep my hands raised. Kurosawa Hikaru has superb acting skills and is very clear about facial expressions. He can see that she is actually very happy, but he doesn't point it out. Even though he is very experienced and knows where to put his hands when kissing, but after kissing for a long time, he is still unable to control his impulse. Will others not recognize me if I wear a mask? Walking to the clothes rack nearby, Ninomiya Chizuru did not talk much about what happened just now, but took out a mask from her coat pocket, put it on her face, and turned around to ask. Definitely no one can recognize you. When you wear a mask, I dare say that no one in the world knows who you are except me. Kurosawa Hikaru saw her wearing a mask, because her appearance was covered, she was full of mystery, and her appearance was even more stunning, and he nodded affirmatively. If someone were to select the beauty with a mask, taking a photo of Chizuru's sister would win the championship 9 out of 10 times. Because Chizuru's sister has such a good foundation, coupled with his makeup skills, she is simply invincible. That's good. Realizing that no one could recognize her, Ninomiya Chizuru's beautiful eyes turned and a smile suddenly appeared on her face. I don't know what good thing she was thinking. Tokyo's most affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 452. Kurosawa Hikaru held Chizuru's hand and walked out of the hotel step by step and onto the street. Although it was around 10 o'clock and everyone had gone to work, there were still many people on the street. Perhaps everyone has something to do and their own purpose when they go out, but as they appear, everyone can't help but look back and look around, because their combination is so conspicuous. The first is Hikaru Kurosawa, who is tall and slender. He wears a simple shirt and trousers, but he looks high-end. The key is that he looks so handsome and has an extraordinary temperament. Next is Ninomiya Chizuru. Even though she is wearing a mask and cannot see the whole picture, she is just stunning with her eyes exposed. What's more, she is so tall, wearing a black floral skirt, and her gentle and feminine temperament is simply stunning. Star. There's such a perfect match. What do you mean by the way you look at me? Do you think my girlfriend is prettier? Ninomiya Chizuru listened to everyone's discussion, but no one recognized her identity, and she felt very happy. When I saw you smiling just now, I thought you were thinking something, but this is what happened. Kurosawa Hikaru held hands with her and walked together. It was a bit funny to see that she didn't speak or hum, but her beautiful eyes were filled with happiness. Is it not okay? Ninomiya Chizuru did not deny it and was confident. She used to have a crush on Kurosawa Hikaru, and when she was silently waiting for him to graduate, she dreamed more than once that she and Kurosawa were walking on the street like a couple. However, she knew this was difficult. Although Neon does not prohibit students from falling in love with their teachers after graduation, some people will bite their tongue after all. That's why, even if she wanted to date Kurosawa, she wanted to go to a place where others didn't know them. What's more, she even fantasized about going to Hokkaido with Kurosawa after dating, to a place far away from Tokyo, where no one knew her. It was a rare thing for her to simply walk on the street with Kurosawa without any criticism or prejudice. Seeing that she likes this very much, what can Kurosawa Hikaru do? Naturally, he will pamper her. Strolling through the streets, they turned heads wherever they passed. Kurosawa, you can also buy a mask and wear it later. After walking like this for a while, Ninomiya Chizuru enjoyed the long-lost tranquility and stability. She looked sideways at the people beside her and suggested after thinking about it. Why? Kurosawa Hikaru agrees that it is more comfortable not to wear it. Because you are well known in various universities in Tokyo. Even if I am in disguise, if you are recognized and are with me, you may attract attention. Ninomiya Chizuru actually wanted him to wear a mask together. Although it was not a couple's outfit, it was still the same style as a couple. She also wanted to wear a couple's outfit, but she was too embarrassed to say anything and was thin-skinned. Good. Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and agreed. In fact, he had thought about this problem before. After all, he participated in the archery competition. Even if he is not a celebrity artist and his reputation is not that high, someone will still be able to recognize him. Having settled the matter, they walked along the street and soon found a store. When he came out again, Kurosawa Hikaru also put on a mask, but it was different from Chizuru's more feminine pink and white mask. The color was black. So handsome. Ninomiya Chizuru secretly admired him when she saw him wearing a mask. Kurosawa is a 20-year-old college student. His overall facial features still look a little youthful, but others can tell at a glance that he is very young. But nowadays, when you wear a mask, only your eyebrows are exposed, and you can't tell your age. A pair of dark eyes are deep and mature, full of mystery. At first glance, you look like a celebrity in disguise, hiding his true appearance. This is indeed the case. With Kurosawa Hikaru also wearing a mask, The rate of turning heads is even higher, everyone is guessing which idol male star he is. Let's go shopping, because this time is special and they don't buy anything. Kurosawa, what brand of car do you like? Aimlessly, Ninomiya Chizuru thought for a moment that this was not a good idea, and then said. She and Kurosawa had an agreement that after the archery competition, if she still wanted to be with him, she would give him a car. In fact, she wanted to reunite and break the Cold War period in the name of giving away a car, but that MV broke the situation in advance. They were going to go on a trip to the hot springs next, and they happened to buy a car to repair their relationship better. She has now figured it out. Although it will be sad to see Kurosawa kissing someone else, it doesn't matter as long as you can't see it. Only by turning a blind eye can you live a comfortable life. What's more, being fickle is not all bad, there are still benefits. For example, if Kurosawa gets Runa back, she won't need to worry about Runa marrying someone else or marrying out of town in the future, nor will she need to worry about Runa meeting bad men or domestic violence men. She and Runa will never be separated, they can be best friends for life. I like a lot of car models. When Kurosawa Hikaru heard this question, he knew that she wanted to fulfill the agreement, but he couldn't answer it for a while. Although he has a dream of a luxury car, it makes him hesitate to make a choice. What should I say? There are so many options that it's dizzying. Moreover, the current situation is quite special. Considering practicality, he cannot simply think that the more expensive the better. For example, Lamborghini and Aston Martin are too conspicuous, and it is difficult to drive them on the street without being noticed. Let's go to the car dealership and buy whatever you like. Ninomiya Chizuru was not surprised to see that he couldn't make a choice, so she suggested. In fact, when she proposed her vacation before, she had already planned in her mind that she would buy Kurosawa a car, and she had all her bank cards and other things with her. Okay. Kurosawa Hikaru smiled when he heard her generous statement. I have to say that Sister Kinhe really has the style of a wealthy woman. Maybe this is the self-confidence of successful people. Is there a car model you want to see first? I don't know much about cars. Please take a look at where we are going. Chizuru Ninomiya doesn't know much about cars. Let's go see Mercedes-Benz first. Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it, and he actually had a few good choices in his mind. Mercedes-Benz and Maybach are low-key and luxurious. The appearance is not very conspicuous. Only those who know the industry know the value. Although it is conspicuous on the street, it is not as exaggerated as a supercar. As soon as it appears, it is the most beautiful kid on the street and hits the street level. Performance. Sister Kinhe, can you drive? Taking out his mobile phone and searching for a Mercedes-Benz dealership using the map software, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly thought of something. Yes, I have a driver's license, but I have never driven outside a driving school. Ninomiya Chizuru nodded and explained. Since you have a driver's license, why haven't I seen you drive? Kurosawa didn't understand. According to his influence, when Chizuru was at Tokyo University, she always took the train and subway to commute. Even when she went to work at a bank, the situation seemed to be similar. Actually, I have a car, but I don't want to drive it. Why? My dad bought me a Porsche Cayenne for my coming-of-age ceremony, but I thought it was too flamboyant to drive to school. As a teacher, it had a bad influence. No wonder. After learning about his situation, Kurosawa Hikaru immediately understood. Although he didn't know the specific model of the Porsche Cayenne, it was probably not cheap. Sister Chizuru driving such a luxury car for commuting did have a bad influence and was easily criticized. You should also buy a car today. You can buy a cheaper and lower profile car. It will be more convenient for you to go out in the future, and the possibility of being followed will be lower and safer. Kurosawa Hikaru chatted with her and knew that she had specially booked a taxi at the door of the apartment and came to Chiyoda district when she went out today. Sister Kinhee is so beautiful and known to so many people. If she meets a madman, it will be troublesome. It is better to drive for safety. Good. After hearing his request, Ninomiya Chizuru agreed after thinking about it. Her popularity now is much higher than when she was a teacher. Since driving a Porsche Cayenne is too high profile, why not just buy a cheap car? Moreover, the place where she works now is not as convenient as going to the University of Tokyo before. It is very close, and it is quite far to go to the bank. You'd better live somewhere else. Too many people know your current address. It's best to buy a villa with its own garage. Then you can drive out directly in the future. Considering her safety, Kurosawa Hikaru came up with another plan. If you were an ordinary person, it wouldn't matter if you lived in a place like an apartment, but Chizuru's current status is different from what it used to be. Just across the country, there are countless people who like Adelina. It would not be surprising if a stalker or pervert would appear randomly. Moreover, Chizuru's fighting ability is super weak. She is a weak woman who looks very powerful but has a fragile body and can be knocked down by a push. When she had a conflict with Xiaoyuki at the Budokan, it was like this and she couldn't beat anyone else. Actually, I also have this plan. Let's go look at cars and houses today and buy a villa. Ninomiya Chizuru nodded slightly, already having an idea. In fact, after the misunderstanding between her and Runa was resolved, she wanted to move in with Runa, but she was worried that living together might affect the relationship between Kurosawa and Runa, so she delayed it. When it comes to buying a villa, she has no hesitation and has strong financial resources. Good. Kurosawa nodded. Her safety risks must be solved as soon as possible. Have you found a car dealership? Found it? Then let's go. After deciding what to do today, Ninomiya Chizuru mustered up the courage to break free from his hand and hold his arm. I always feel like she's quite happy. Her arm was held by her, and the distance between the two people became closer. Kurosawa felt her softness and enjoyed it very much, and also looked at her expression sideways. This is not Kurosawa Hikaru's illusion, Ninomiya Chizuru is indeed quite happy. In fact, she had thought about going to see a house with Kurosawa Hikaru a long time ago, but her personality was more reserved and shy, and she was embarrassed to speak. After all, the meaning of a man and a woman going to see a house is unusual. Now that there is a legitimate reason, it is naturally a good thing.